just really not much Star Wars stuff going on, but I kind of wanted to talk about what happened this week and connect it to the issues that Star Wars fans have had with Lucasfilm and their seemingly batshit crazy buddies. I'm gonna have to go share this out. All right, I'm back. I'm just gonna have to share this to Facebook. All right, I'm back. I'm just gonna have to share this to Facebook. Be right back. So, wanted to talk a little bit about stupid thing. What's going on with the world right now and how we got here. Let's go through a history lesson. Back in, I think, 2016, I got to witness firsthand the just unbelievably evil attitude of the left. Pablo Hidalgo and others at Lucasfilm. And, people were excited for The Last Jedi to come out. And we were hoping that we would get some answers. And, people would ask him and others that work at Lucasfilm, questions, and he mistreated them. And, then you've got Rian Johnson subverting expectation, thinking that the average American and the average film goer would be too stupid to understand that they're watching poorly made propaganda, right? After the movie came out, the war started. What happened was people were pissed off. Yours truly, if you've been a long-time subscriber to this channel, you know. And other people were flocking and going, what the fuck are you people doing? Understandable, I might add. And instead of trying to calm the situation down and like, oh, we're sorry, you don't like the movie, the next one will fix everything that's, something PR-ish but sincere. Instead of doing that, we were called Nazis, we were called misogynists, we were called homophobic, etc. Racist too. Do you know how many black men I knew that hated that movie? A lot. How many black women I know that hated that movie? A lot. Do you know how many homos I know? Their friends of mine that hated that movie? A lot. Because it was garbage. It was fucking garbage. Subverting our expectations. Okay, Lavrenti Beria. Okay, Joseph Goebbels. You did. And when you were called out, you called us man babies. You posted hideous pictures of a, grown man in diapers, thinking you were so fucking funny. You got people kicked off of Twitter. You encouraged the weird behavior of Raylos. And we're all just like going, the worm has turned. Because that attitude of Pablo Hidalgo, his wife, Matt Martin, Hal Hickel, Phil Strozek, etc., and then, all right, culminated in the butchering of Charlie Kirk. And I blame them every bit as much as I blame Noodle Arms. Mr. Robinson, Mr. Tyler, little fag, okay? Why? Because, first off, the lack of education on the left has never shocked me. They can't have a conversation. They don't know what a Nazi is. I'll tell you what a Nazi is. They censor speech. They use propaganda. Hitler took over the newspapers. Mussolini had been an editor when he took over the Socialist Party. When he realized the Italian people were out and outright rejecting them, he switched the name to fascist. Voila, he got to be the dictator of Italy. They propagandized and usurped radios, so the message is unified. Film. May I remind you of the 1936 film made by Leni Riefenstahl called Triumph of the Will. That's a propaganda movie. Art. You ever seen Nazi art? Don't. Literature. Education. I took a class on Nazi education because I wanted to find out just how they could basically usurp parents and the church and everything else. What I found is from history, which they rewrote, to literature, to math and science, it came from only one point of view. Nazi. Nazi, 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 Nazi. There you go. And they used scapegoats. So let's get back. Let's go talk about The Last Jedi. I was scapegoated, and everybody who hated the movie and was calling them out was scapegoated, which is what they do. If you hated the movie, you're a bad person. You're a Nazi. And again, I just explained to you some of the things the Nazis do that we don't do. You know, here's the deal. I would always try to say this to these people. It's not that you made this movie this way. It's the fact that you use Star Wars as a vehicle to propagandize and dictate. Now, get into the way back machine. Pablo Hidalgo told a podcaster back in 2013, not only were they discontinuing the Star Wars Expanded Universe novels, which are good, they were going to basically indoctrinate the kids. He said that to this podcaster. The guy that was listening in, the partner in that, ended up having to leave that podcast because the podcaster did not want to lose that contact. And they didn't want all this shit to get out. Okay. And what we got because of this need to propagandize and indoctrinate, Raylo, which is a subject I don't want to talk about. It just makes me want to vomit just thinking it ever was a thing. So, scapegoats. Anybody who hated The Last Jedi. You could be a fucking Democrat and you hated The Last Jedi, you would be scapegoated by them. And I'm not just talking about these insidious gutter rats that work for Lucasfilm. I'm talking about Star Wars Explained, the Mary Sue. Jason Ward at Making Star Wars was actually, from what we can discern, given the task of driving the regular fans off by Kathleen Kennedy herself. You know, so yeah, they scapegoated everybody who basically were fans of George Lucas. Yeah, that's exactly Maze. Maze is right here, all right? So, you know, who is the problem here? Is it the fans going, we just wanted a Star Wars movie? And this shit that we were getting into started after TFA because, in retrospect, TFA was a shitty movie. I think Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher all knew that too. But I don't think J.J. Abrams is capable of making a ham sandwich. I think he's literally the biggest grifter in Hollywood, and everything he's ever touched in big franchises has been a great big steaming pile of shit. All right. So they were trying to control the message and couldn't. Hi, Kim. So after TLJ comes out, all hell breaks loose. I don't know how many Twitter accounts that people had that got banned for calling Raylo out, for calling Pablo out. I'll give you an example. My friend Cameron Pasha, basically said to Pablo Hidalgo and the rest of them, when she's gone, you won't get a job again in Hollywood. He went back to go see what was going on and found out they got his account banned. He said nothing wrong, nothing, okay? What they call hate speech, something like that, or me saying, I don't really give a fuck about advice andro gender studies, because that's what Laura Dern was. That's considered hate speech. But then running around threatening Donald Trump, celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder, isn't hate speech to them. To them, hate speech is speech that makes them afraid. That's why they killed Charlie, because he was getting to the kids. And, you know, if you look at how many people have been fired for that, tons. Look, these are people who made up bot wars and swarmed Gina Carano with Fire Gina Carano hashtag, right? These motherfuckers got her fired. Now, the whirlwind's being reaped by them. Is it 758 people got fired already for being gross? But look, this is the culmination of the culture war. The fact that while we were out making money, doing things, having families, Pablo, Matt, Mrs. Hidalgo, and the rest of this fucking filth got into the culture, right? They got jobs with Lucasfilm, with Fox, with Disney. May I remind you about Reimagine Tomorrow, etc. Instead about trying to dismantle the franchises that we love. Give you an example. And this is where it comes from. I saw on X, and my husband made me aware of it, that there was, there's a guy there, he's Chinese, he's an anti-communist, posted this thing saying, you guys don't get it. Okay. And he used this example. There was a restaurant in Beijing that was a very traditional Chinese restaurant. People loved it. It was like, you know, this was when the Cracker Barrel controversy started. And was it during the Cultural Revolution or around then? The Red Guard came in and basically forced the restaurant to turn into a saccharine, plain, no frills, just empty, devoid of character, devoid of what it was. Because that was a threat. Now I want you to sit back and look at what's going on. They've tried to do it to Disney. They've tried to do it to Lucasfilm and Star Wars and Indiana Jones, Willow, and we've seen it over and over and over again happen. These people show up and gut things, and what they put in there is lifeless, soulless crap. Because if you don't have a spiritual, like, soulful connection to the world, you're not going to create anything that's worth it, that's worthwhile. Rian Johnson is not a good writer. He is not a good director. I don't care what they say. I mean, you know, I have no respect for Daniel Craig, considering he's very happy playing a faggot. And it's like, you know, these are people that aren't there because they love making movies. It's not like you could compare Rian Johnson to a young Steven Spielberg, right? You can connect Rian Johnson to a young Francis Ford Coppola, or George Lucas, or Martin Scorsese, or Brian De Palma, or young Robert Zemeckis, because they weren't propagandists. And even if they're liberal, they're not propagandists. Right? They're not. I agree with all you guys here right now. Rian Johnson Go back and look at what he did to Luke Skywalker. He completely emasculated him on purpose. Because if you look at Ryan Johnson, you can see that a masculine, brave guy would be a threat to him. He's short, fat, and weird. And yes, I've seen his name on the certain lists on Reddit. And after finding out that they had a bouncy house on the set of The Last Jedi, he went in there with the kids. Just putting it out there. Don't you kind of think that's weird? I know I do. A grown man in his 40s in a bouncy house. Just wrap your mind around that a little bit. It's just, to me, it's what the Chinese did to that restaurant. What's happened to Star Wars, what's happened to Indiana Jones, what's happened to Willow, what they've been trying to do to Disney. Take away why people went to Disney. See this? Fuckstick, I don't smoke, so you can go fuck yourself, you fucking pig. Go. You know what you are? You are not even human. Why don't you go kiss the ass of a bomb-sniffing dog? Or put yourself in front of a frickin' runaway horse and get trampled. Why do these people just assume that because my voice is a mess, that, oh, I know, because they know it pisses me off. And trust me, the people that sent this Acito piece of shit, this racist brown bastard, is because they don't like my message. They're doing the same thing to me that they did to Charlie. What they do is they attack your physical appearance, your words, anything about you that they think is a weakness. And they killed Charlie. Pablo, his wife, Hal Heckel, Phil Szozek, Acito, and anybody out there who espouses the left-wing view killed Charlie Kirk. They killed Charlie Kirk. They don't have a scintilla of humanity in their bodies, right? I mean, you know, and we're finally seeing that. We're seeing them make absurd, horrible videos, and you know, I am angry, you cocksucker. No, bitch, you are dehumanizing others. See, I'm calling him out for that, and he's trying to rationalize and do the Saul Alinsky tactics, which are always accuse others of what you're doing. Just a second. If you don't have this book, you should. Andrew Breitbart was also murdered by the left. And he talks about Saul Alinsky here. Let me hopefully, I think he's got this written down somewhere. No, anyway. So, Alinsky's tactics were isolate your opponent, accuse that opponent of what you yourself are doing. That's just two of them. Everybody that was pissed off at us about us being pissed off about The Last Jedi followed those rules to the T. And they did it to Charlie Kirk. They've done it to Megyn Kelly. They've done it to Sean Hannity. They did it to Rush Limbaugh. They do it to President Trump. They do that to my congressman, Scott Perry. They do that to anybody who calls their bullshit out. Right? And if you look at what they've been saying here, they can't have a rational discussion. I'm an angry woman. fuck off. Why wouldn't I not be angry? Everybody who's been a sub to my channel for a long time is angry. And again, I'm connecting what happened to Charlie to the bullshit after The Last Jedi. And instead of Kathleen Kennedy going, I shouldn't have hired Rian Johnson, she doubled down. Because she's a disconnected loon, old boomer hag, who, by the way, has no idea of what's happening and why people didn't like The Last Jedi, that people are now questioning Force Awakens, that people did not go to see The Rise of Palpatine. I mean, it stayed in the theaters a long time just so she could cross the $1 billion mark so she could get her contract renewed. Yeah, that's how she gets her contracts renewed, or it did. She's leaving, or has left, or I don't know. I call her the alleged president of Lucasfilm because we don't know what's going on. But this is the culmination of the garbage that these radical leftists, Pablo being a red diaper baby, mommy and daddy fleeing Chile because Augusto Pinochet was taking people on helicopter tours. He shows up here in the United States and then proceeds to try to help dismantle a cornerstone of film culture and pop culture, aka Star Wars. Because you cannot leave something that's positive, that puts to light right from wrong, good versus evil, and all the rest of that stuff. You can't have that. You can't have that. You got to make everything ambiguous so people are confused. Okay? You've got to, get little girls and little boys convinced that right is wrong, wrong is right. What was it, Jeremiah or Isaiah who said, "Woe unto them who call evil good and good evil." That's what they're doing, and that's what they did. That's what they did. All right? And all these people are to blame. I'm not just talking about Lucasfilm. Jimmy Kimmel. Right? Whoopi Goldberg. Sonny Hostin. Stephen King, who's now, please, 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 don't sue me. Thanks, Cross. Because that's the next thing that's going to happen. They demonize people and dehumanize the people on the right because we disagree with them. And people like little Tyler Noodle Arms get infected with this, and they are unable to decide what is good and what is evil. They can't. And there you go. Okay, and that's all you got. Now, I carry a pistol sometimes. So if you see me walking around, don't bug me. Don't. I'm telling you right now. I think every Republican, especially woman out there, oh, I know, but it's too late. It's too late. It's too late. I think every woman out there who's got an opinion and has said it publicly needs to learn to protect herself. I mean, again, look what happened to Charlie, right? And these people aren't going to stop. If you look at, get out of the way, Jack. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah. Come here. It's a good dog. My dog is right here. They'll try to do it again. I don't belong to TikTok, but everybody is on X is just gathering these bizarre, wild-eyed, evil, demonic celebrations. And then, of course, we've got, if you're blonde-haired and blue-eyed, you're a Nazi. Sydney Sweeney. And it's always these ugly fucking left-wing bitches with their noses done and tattoos and, you know, their lips done, and it's just gross. Eyebrow piercings. Can somebody explain why people think that's cool? Because literally it's self-mutilation. The only thing I got are earrings. That's it. One earring. It's, but the left is filled with some sort of demonic crap that I can't even, right? I mean, so I just go, I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say because you motherfuckers embolden me. I get isolated, I get called angry, accused of being a smoker. You want me to pull up the chest tube scars? You want to see that? Fuckers. You know, well, Cross, look, it's, the ones I know are trend followers and they want everybody to like them. It's a product of anxiety, a product of poor parenting, a product of being rudderless without any values being taught. It's a product of being devalued. And, you know, we live in a place where, you know, teachers put girls up on a pedestal and kick the shit out of boys because they're boys. And, oh God, I don't know why my nose is doing this to me today. And I just go, you know, I'm done. I'm not going to be nice anymore. These fuckers have gone a bridge too far with the Charlie Kirk thing. And I'm going to encourage everybody. We've gone through this since before, like when woke started in 2016, right? Well, it really started with The Force Awakens. And if you really watch The Force Awakens and you see the subtext, shitty writing. The subtext is traditional families suck. And that's, you know, undermining the family, undermining mom and dad, undermining the church. I mean, you know, what's sad is this Tyler kid was so fucked up. His dad was a minister and he still did this. You know, he was an unaffiliated voter. He had his ammunition full of Antifa messaging, and one was trans and furry. Do you know what a furry is? I'm not going there. Let's put it this way. Go and look up CSI Las Vegas because they had a show about it. And when Rudy and I first got married, we'd watch the reruns, and that literally was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. It is filthy. It is abhorrent. It is depraved and demonic. This kid had that on there. All right. Now, I don't know, maybe Maze is still here, I don't know, but I think he'll remember the tweet Pablo put out about dicks. It's like, what part of you represent Lucasfilm and you have a right to free speech, but there's a line you shouldn't fucking cross, right? Especially when you go online on Twitter, when it was Twitter, and other places, say stupid shit like that. Because people are reading that don't see your name. They see at Lucasfilm, a writer at Lucasfilm, Lucasfilm Story Group, right? And what does Cornwallis say to the colonel and the patriot, you serve me, and the manner with which you serve me reflects upon me. Hi, Dave. What part of that is not understood? Don't care if your account is unaffiliated with Lucasfilm. Everybody sees you work at Lucasfilm. Everybody sees you work at Warner Brothers. Everybody sees you work at Warner Brothers Music, right? You represent the company no matter where you are. And again, if you don't want your job, please feel free to say whatever the fuck you want. But if you do like your job, remember, when you say something sick and depraved and evil, the people that are reading that and are pissed off are going to look at your bosses and say, why is he working for you? Trust me, all of us have, right? A couple weeks ago, a friend of mine who's on Blue Skies as a spy saw that Pablo wrote something really shitty about Rudolph Giuliani when he got hurt. Give the story if you don't know it. Rudy's driving, I think, back to New York City or whatever. Sees a woman stranded on the side of the road. Car won't start, so he goes to help her. Finds out she's trying to escape a domestic abuse issue. Now, remember who Rudy Giuliani is. He is the district attorney for the 3rd Federal District of New York. He put John Gotti away. He is one that brought up the RICO laws to shut down organized crime, the mafia. Very successful at it. It worked, right? He also was the mayor that cleaned up New York City. You could actually go to New York and feel like, oh, okay, I can walk down the street and not be bothered. And he was a presidential candidate. And of course, obviously he didn't get the nomination. And he's like, I think he's in his late 70s or early 80s now. So anyway, he's trying to help the girl. He called the police and they show up and he decides, I'm going to go home now. Gets in his car and gets into an accident and gets hurt. I mean, he fractured one of his cervical things back here. Pablo, and I put it on here on a post so you can go look it up. Pablo was laughing about it. So he was hit from behind on the highway. Yep. I asked my friend, since what happened to Charlie and all the lefties are going, I didn't look great, and making threats to Trump, and one made a threat to J.D. Vance. She lost her job. What comes around goes around, bitch. And he did. And so far, nothing. Why? Because he would send me what was posted, and I would post it on my channel. And I would send it to Lucasfilm and to Bob Iger at Disney. If they want to fuck around, they're going to find out. All right? FAFO is real. And, the guy, it's like, look, if you are a fanatical socialist, and I'm not just talking about Maoist, Marxist, Bolshevik, whatever, I did a thing on X today about what a Nazi is. And I talked about that here. National Socialist German Workers' Party. The original name for them was the Socialist Workers' Party, National Socialist Party, Workers' Party. Hitler just put the German name on there, right? In fascism, I'll give you another example. I think I already said this, but let me go back. When Benito Mussolini was the head of the Socialist Party, when you're taught that in school, you're kind of led to believe the way the wording is, that he decided to be on the right. No, he didn't. He just changed the branding. It's still the same Socialist Party, but it's called fascist now. So fascism, contrary to what people say, is actually a brand of socialism. Ayn Rand herself said, communists and Nazis and fascists are all just street gangs fighting it out. They're all the same. They are all the fucking same, right? And when you've got Tim Walz dehumanizing and, making death threats, you got Chuck Schumer doing it. You got Barack Obama saying, get in their faces. If they carry a knife, bring a gun. He said that. It is really time for, I think, Republicans to call them out every time when they do this shit. Okay? Because what happened to Charlie? And what bothers me is how they enjoy seeing his wife cry. Look, when you have a rabid dog, a rabid raccoon, rabid bat, they're never going to get better. You have to put them down. And I'm sorry to say this, but the way the left is going, if they don't put a sock in it, they're the ones. Okay, they're the ones that are going to be worse off. I don't understand how losing an election to Donald Trump, whom the Democrats drove out of the party, can be so overwhelming and so triggering that they resort to this shit. It's an election. We spent 8 years, living our lives dealing with Barack Obama and, not really letting him dictate our lives. And we were all quite happy with it. And, he faded from view. We just rubbed dirt in the wound and looked at John McCain and said, you're basically a useless human being. Looked at Mitt Romney saying, when you had Obama on the ropes over Benghazi and you didn't step on his neck during that debate, just proved what a fucking pussy you are. It's one thing that we have in this country are what we call Republicans, in name only, who are afraid that the left is going to call them names. And the left has bullied them and has, basically let them do everything that they want as long as they understand what the left is doing. I mean, look, every person that was nominated by Joe Biden was put right in. But Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, shitting themselves all over the place over Kash Patel and Pete Hegseth. How dare a guy that actually kicked in doors in Afghanistan and Iraq be the Secretary of War? How dare? I don't think I could think of a better guy to be Secretary of War. Not some former general who sits on the board of Boeing and Raytheon making money on weapons sales. Look, I believe in peace through strength. I also believe in speak softly and carry a big stick. But I don't believe in these endless fucking wars all the time. My husband is a retired Marine Corps colonel. I have been to military funerals. I don't want to go to another one. Why? Because when you've got two twin sisters bawling over their older brother who was killed by an IED in Iraq, and them asking you why, Lindsey Graham, Chuck Schumer, why? Because you want to make money. Right. These are the problems. But yeah, I am going to look at what happened in the aftermath of The Last Jedi and connect it to Charlie Kirk. Because the constant chaos and bullshit that Rian Johnson and the Lucasfilm rabid, flying monkeys caused ultimately caused what happened to Charlie. They inflamed lost, confused kids and radicalized them. And I'm sorry, but if you're a Democrat, you should sincerely fall on your knees and ask Christ to forgive you. And then never vote Democrat again. That's what you should do. And if you honestly think we Republicans are going to take this shit laying down, you woke up the sleeping giant. Oh, really? I did not know that it was Graham's father. Okay, great. Excellent, Mike. So guys, I've got to clean up my kitchen because we're putting my brother-in-law's significant other up here for four days. And I got to get going here because I should have done this and I didn't. So, oh, I see Pablo's bot farm is busy. Sampath Kumar, go fuck yourself, a giant dildo asshole. That's all I can say. Anyway, gotta go. Oh yeah, I mean, I think that, yeah, this is, I'm sure Bob Iger went, there's a reason why Mr. Iger did not give any money to Kamala Harris and the rest. He didn't give any money to a presidential campaign last time. Woke is done. They're going to freak out, they're going to flame out, and then they'll be gone. All right, gotta rock. You guys have a good night and a good Saturday. And to all the angry little bots screaming and ranting, go fuck right off. I have just begun to fight.